Welcome to Wise Beyond Bitcoin, where you come for the crypto neo news, education, and opportunities. My name is Lucas.
And my name is Ryan.
And we have a little bit of education to talk about, maybe a perspective on how to look at the crypto market as a whole. We like to talk about macro outlooks. We like to talk about a lot of things, actually. So before we get into it, this is not marital advice, medical advice. It is not legal advice, commercial advice, or financial advice. It's just educational, entertainment information. It's our research and perspectives that we like to share in hopes that it will help you in your journey in participating in this new technology, this new ecosystem that allows for just so many beautiful things and opportunities that never before could have been achieved. So we're excited about that. And I guess, Ryan, would you say that what we're about to talk about right now would possibly fit under the Wise Beyond Bitcoin macro outlook playlist? That
I think this would definitely
that
fit under that category. Yeah,
you're the front runner of this playlist.
Right. Yeah. It'll be an unofficial entry. Let's put it that way.
So yeah, we do like to talk about the economy from our background, although we love blockchain and crypto and the potential and the value that is latent and is there. We see it's also about the world at large and how it all fits together. So if you like to kind of hear about that as well, that outlook. But we also, if you're brand new into crypto and you're like, hey, I'm excited, I hear about these projects, I've heard about privacy and blockchain, that it's actually here and we can start building secret on that network. How do I do it? Well, how to start your secret crypto journey. Kepler Wallet walks you through everything. We've got a playlist on validators and staking. We've got a playlist on secret NFTs. If you heard about Quentin Tarantino's latest Pulp Fiction hidden screenplay release, we go into the details of why that was done on secret network, because really the blockchain technology is so unique that what you can do there is something you cannot do on other blockchains.
Right.
And
indeed,
we got airdrops and opportunities, DeFi crypto explainers and tutorials. We actually show you how to stake, how to provide liquidity with live examples. So just kind of walk you through the process, and more crypto secrets revealed, because, you know, you look at this little, what is that called? A Easter egg. This is an Easter. Actually, it's called a thumbnail of Jackal DAO, but it's an Easter egg for maybe things to come, because there are a lot of really, really innovative things being built on secret. All right, but now that that's out of the way, let's talk about, you know, we're so used to speaking to people that are building and creating and developing and that are used to speaking the jargon and the language of blockchain and crypto. It's when you listen to the perspectives, or that bridge between those who are in blockchain and those who are more used to mainstream traditional talking to that world, or in that model, there seems to be a great divide. And I guess that's what I want to kind of get into and share with everyone here, is we're going to look at a real popular, a very pop culture, mainstream perspective that's coming from, actually, there's a lot of things happening here. Did you see this? We've got this Pompliano, which is a very, very popular podcaster and influencer. We've got Altcoin Daily, which is one of the largest cryptocurrency influencers with over 1 million subscribers. And then we've got, of course, Michael Saylor. And I don't know what channel this was on, but it's
like CNBC.
Oh, CNBC, right. So, so there's a lot of audiences wrapped up into all this. A lot of eyeballs. And let's just kind of like listen and hear the mentality, or the understanding and the perspective of crypto.
And then offer a little bit of a response from the Wise Beyond Bitcoin perspective.
Let's just hear. Let's see what it is.
Listen to this clip of Michael Saylor addressing three main.
Oh, and I did speed it up because really I like
Time is money.
Things speed it up. And you might want to do that when you listen to us too. Maybe put it on 1.5 or 2 times. Heck, I do it. But I'm going to speed up to kind of, here we go.
Thanks. Is regulation good for Bitcoin? He addresses the differences between DeFi and DApp platforms versus Bitcoin. He talks about why Bitcoin is digital property. And then at the very end, this CNBC host asks him, well, isn't Bitcoin in a bubble? This is about a 3-minute clip. Watch this.
We just heard from Sam Bankman-Fried, who is welcoming regulation, starting, hopefully, he says, out of the US this year. Is that your feeling, or do you worry that regulators could ultimately regulate it out of existence? China, for instance, banning Bitcoin mining.
No, I think actually regulation and clarity is going to be great for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is universally acknowledged as digital property. It's common property. All the question marks are around currencies and securities and platforms and exchanges. One thing that's clear is everybody on earth wants to own property. And if you live in Africa or South America or Asia, what property would you rather own than Bitcoin? So, you know, the regulatory clarity is going to accelerate institutional adoption of Bitcoin, and you're going to see large flows of capital into the asset class as this continues.
But here's the difference with Bitcoin and property, Michael. Property, you can value it. You can see the location and the neighbors and what it's worth. How do you know, how can one determine what Bitcoin is worth? There's no balance sheet, and it really hasn't been a long-term proven asset.
If you lived in Zimbabwe, what piece of property would you rather own than Bitcoin? If you lived in Argentina and there's an 80% inflation rate, what piece of property would you rather own than Bitcoin?
Well, maybe the US dollar.
Actually not. The US dollar is losing 20% of its value a year, and Bitcoin's going up in value every year. So the real important thing to note about Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is a global monetary asset, which means everybody on earth is going to have a need for that property. And it's a scarce, desirable asset. Currencies are designed to lose value. And, you know, the dollar is the strongest currency. But if you look at the lira, or take the Argentine peso, the blue dollar rate hit 209 today. It was 15 about 4 years ago. So you can't save your money in a currency. You have to actually invest in a property. And for 3/4 of the world, they can't buy the S&P index. So it's not an academic question of whether or not you buy stocks or you buy Bitcoin. You can't buy, you know, stocks when you live in the middle of Africa or Egypt or Turkey or Lebanon. So really, you need property.
I get it. I get what you're saying about the developing world. Finally, and very quickly, Michael, what do you tell people out there who are now, and that this course is growing a little bit louder, saying Bitcoin's a bubble, the liquidity from the Fed, that big tide is coming in, and it is proving to be just a speculative investment, and it's popping?
Yeah, people were skeptical of Amazon and Google and Facebook, but you know, the next digital transformation is the digital transformation of property, money, and energy, and Bitcoin represents that transformation. So 8 billion people are going to want to move money at the speed of light on a mobile phone. What I would tell them is Bitcoin is the asset. Bitcoin is the network to move money at the speed of light. There is no other open permissionless protocol to do it. So technology is on our side. This is the future of the internet.
All right. Great perspective.
I have a quick response to this that we can, and we have a few things we want to touch on, but the main thing I want to touch on is he kind of contradicts himself. He says at the beginning that the Bitcoin will be basically benefited by regulation because it's property. It's not a currency. It's the currencies, it's the exchanges, it's those elements, the securities, right, that are going to be kind of regulated and maybe would not do well because of the change in the regulation. But he holds Bitcoin out as property and says it's in a class of its own. But then later on, we just heard him say, hey, if you want to move money around, Bitcoin's going to be the way to do it.
Right. Contradicts himself.
So he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. And the only other thing I want to say before I let you run off on some tangents is that the Bitcoin's not going to be it's already not the best way to move money at a speed of light, cheaply. No, it's clunky. It's why do you think Bitcoin, why did all these forks happen to Bitcoin? Why do we have Litecoin? Why is Bitcoin Cash a thing? Right? Why Dash? Like all these other currencies exist because Bitcoin could not do that simple, could not efficiently scale up and handle the transactions cheaply, quickly. And it became expensive. There was fees and you had to sometimes wait an hour, a couple hours, was not unheard of. So, and this was back in 18 when Bitcoin was kind of really the main thing. And then we had a huge bubble or run, a big growth bull market. And it couldn't, and now imagine what it would be like with how much crypto's adoptions expanded and how much more activity, how much more money is flowing, right? Bitcoin, if that was the one, we would see quickly a problem, right? We'd be talking about, well, we need to get the Lightning networks up and running. We need to get layer 2s. We need to get, and so I just don't see, I feel like he's kind of just talking nonsense.
Well, before the video, you actually explained it perfectly well, what he's talking, and he's pumping his own bags. I mean, it doesn't seem to be intellectually honest, but he's very heavily vested. It could be. I mean, I don't know. He could just be ignorant or just not understanding the contradictions that he's speaking. But like you said, in one breath, it's globally recognized property, which I thought I don't know if his background is a real
Legal.
estate property attorney, or if he made a caveat that this is not legal advice before his interview, but that's a pretty heavy claim, because there's not too many things that are universally accepted in anything that aren't contested in law and that aren't contested. So to sit here and just
call it property,
to proclaim that Bitcoin, which a lot of people, even on CNBC, still don't know what it is or understand it, and then just to proclaim that it is globally accepted,
he said common property,
universally accepted property. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. So yeah,
normally with property, don't you have to have a title, a deed, some sort of instrument that gives you exclusive ownership rights of that thing?
It felt like that was a narrative where she was asking him questions and he had answers already to support the narrative of Bitcoin maximalism. That's what it seemed like, because her questions could have been answered so much easier and I think in a more practical.
I do like what he said about the developing world and how, keeping your money in paper, currencies or fiat money is a losing proposition, even though he got the numbers wrong. It's not 20% a year or last year loss on the dollar. It's more like 7%. And he was corrected by that, which is funny. It's another example of him getting something basic wrong, but it's interesting that this is all happening and right after he made these massive purchases of Bitcoin this year, and we're seeing a pretty good correction in Bitcoin. So his position's on the downside. So I do think that I don't think he's dumb or misinformed or naive or ignorant. Because he definitely can't be at the level he's at. I feel like it's a pump my bags kind of thing, like you said. Yeah, he's pumping bags. Bitcoin's the one, right?
He's actually the perfect representative of Bitcoin maximalism. If you are a Bitcoin maximalist, then Michael Saylor is your champion, because Bitcoin maximalism, it would not work. It will not work without heavy worldwide government regulation, where you have government saying, we recognize Bitcoin, we recognize this as property, we recognize this. So he actually is the front man, so to speak, of
for the regulatory
what's going to be the regulatory push of what's deemed acceptable in the worldwide recognized property. And
he even lets the cat out of the bag implicitly, maybe accidentally, when he says that regulation will spur institutional adoption. And he's thinking about that, because that's how you're going to get that one. Right. The one, because if you don't have regulatory, burdens on the competitors, right, shutting down the DeFi world, and the currencies and the securities and all those things don't get regulated and, essentially limited in their ability to freely develop, then people are going to go there. They already have, right? And Bitcoin dominance is on the slide. Right. So empirically, he's his position requires intervention. The maxi position is predicated on government intervention, and not just any intervention, but intervention that specifically privileges Bitcoin and punishes in DeFi. Right.
So that originally Bitcoin allegedly was created to disrupt financial institutions, or disrupt, when in reality, if you look at the crypto blockchain ecosystem today, it's
being disrupted.
That it's actually like
it's the institutional status quo.
Right.
It's become the man in crypto.
Bitcoin has become the man.
It is.
So now that being said, that's if you're a maximalist, right? Because I understand from a non-maximalist that I can see that Bitcoin really should be an anchor, so to speak, in a new and improved, like the way gold used to back money or silver commodities. I can see that Bitcoin can be a measuring stick upon which different digital assets and currencies are measured. Instead of measuring them in dollars, you measure them in Bitcoin. Instead of measuring things in,
it could be part of an index, so like the commodities and real estate and Bitcoin, maybe other cryptos as well, some of the EVMs, right?
It'll always have a function, because this technology is built on the fact that it's secure. The reality is that all these exist, and if there's a hack or a bug in a blockchain that's severe, then they go away. They all exist because blockchain technology has proven in decentralized nature to withstand hacks or attacks. So if you were to find Polkadot or Dogecoin or something else were to have some flaw and get hacked, Dogecoin might be more severe because proof of work. But if you were to have some new token, new crypto get hacked, it would affect a lot of the market, but it wouldn't drive away Bitcoin if Bitcoin remained untouched. If Bitcoin were to be compromised in some major double spend, was it that?
The 51% hack.
The 51% hack with the
Attack,
quantum computing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If that were to happen, well, the rest of the market would pretty much dump, because it would pretty much say this whole technology that we've built these ecosystems on doesn't work like we thought it did. And so for that regard, as we call it, the proof of concept, it serves a value, and it will always serve a value. But that doesn't mean utility. That doesn't mean that as a medium of exchange and for a multiple of other use cases, that it would be the most sought after and preferred,
or the only.
And surely for a healthy ecosystem, we look for diversity, like what people look in the grocery store or in the mall. Different brands of clothing, different electronics to choose from, different home builders to choose from. It really helps the market, and it helps us all to allow for different people to show their skills and their talents and to co-create. And yes, I think property, we talked about how kind of weird and silly to declare it universal property, universally recognized property. And when she made a claim, so she said something like, well, what do you say? It doesn't have value. I can't touch it or hold it. It's like, I thought this was like so staged, right? Like, because you value the internet. I mean, they're like, we're already past this, lady. Like it's like the phone. How do it's like that we already know that things exist, that we value information, patents, copyrights. They literally have people on to protect patents and copyright. That's valuing knowledge, that's valuing ideas, that is protected. So
she talks about how there's not a clear revenue stream or earnings or some sales or any kind of data, right, to talk about like how profitable it would Bitcoin is. But that's kind of like a category error, because you can make that argument about a lot of things. I mean, art doesn't have a stream of revenues and earnings and sales that you can measure to come up with a value of, but we still do, right? So this ability to value things that are a little more abstract than say like a stock, that's not a fatal flaw. We can do that, and one of the ways you do it is start thinking about, well, what is the value of the networks? What are the profits of the networks that it's replacing? Right? Look at the credit card industry. Look at the banking industry. Look at the seigniorage at the Fed. Look at counterfeiting. Look at front running. Right, front running. Payment for order flow. Right, you start thinking about all of the profits and the revenues in those other realms, and then think about, well, what happens when we build a new financial world that doesn't have some of that in it? You can just start taking that off the top, right? Boom, boom, boom. Now you've got some revenues you can talk about. There's your value. So you just got to be a little creative. That's all.
There's that. And the other point, the main point that I want to, we mentioned that it seems that the Bitcoin position is very pro-regulation, obviously, and bubbles. I just want to mention bubbles but people talk about bubbles. Is crypto a bubble? Is Bitcoin a bubble? And the answer is, the short answer is yes. But for her to ask, what do you say to people about being a bubble? The answer is, if you understand how the monetary system works that you are speaking of on a regular basis, in the market, in the stock market, and how the Fed is manipulating interest rates and pumping in cheap credit, then you would know that our current financial system is run by inflating bubbles and then popping them and then
reinflating them.
And then reinflating them. And the game is like moving the cups around. The shell game is to find out which industries are being blown up artificially, or I say artificially, or with the most incentives. Let's just say which ones are being incentivized the most. Like we look at the housing industry, it was Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and certain government subsidized loans, or student loans that are heavily subsidized so that they blow up and become,
or the QE channeling all those monthly purchases into Wall Street, right? Billions a month.
Absolutely.
So yeah, talking about the distribution.
Look at corn with ethanol and the money or Tesla, Elon Musk, solar industry. The whole solar industry is one huge bubble if it wasn't being blown up and propped up with certain resources. So, bubbles, the question is there value behind the bubble? Not is it a bubble, because it's like a game of musical chairs. There's bubbles throughout the whole system, but is there value? Is there potential? Is this bubble actually have something that's macro? If we look at the macro picture, long-term, is there long-term fundamentals behind?
And I'd also like to point out, this isn't the first Bitcoin bubble, right? We had one in 2017. We've had before that, there was a bubble, smaller, and these have always been a little smaller in scale in terms of like the raw numbers. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has had a few bull bear cycles, right? And they've corresponded a little bit with the macro dollar as well, with the rate hikes, the easy money policies, and then giving way to a rate hike and then going back to easy money. You can chart out the Bitcoin along with that. You can see the response, the bullish and the bearish response in Bitcoin. So yeah, I think clearly if it's an asset that trades against the dollar, it's pretty much a bubble right now, because everything that's not dollars is going up because there's a lot of dollars, because we've inflated the money supply by a large amount. Right. So in that world, too many dollars chasing too few goods, and financial assets are going to be one of the main in real estate. There's a few core assets people want to own. They see them as long-term value plays. And so they don't want to be in cash in an inflationary environment. So they're getting out of cash and they're trying to rush into property, as Michael Saylor says, right? Right. And so why would Bitcoin be any different? Why would it escape this calculus? Of course not. No. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to have another day, that it's not going to pump again, right? Because these things do go in cycles.
And that doesn't mean that the fundamentals behind this bubble aren't sound for the long term, like you said. Sure. So when the bubble collapses and there's more cheap credit or easy money, or the healthy economy is ready to start reinvesting again, where are people going to look with this new credit and new money? What are the industries that are going to offer the most promising returns, because they're providing the most growth and most value in the economy? And the reason why we cover all this on our channel, the reason why we love talking about the different use cases of blockchain, whether it's alter mail, looking to disrupt and replace how we communicate and send messages in a more efficient and secure way, or Jackal DAO for data storage, or we go down the line for other projects that are coming out. What can be done with NFTs? I was going to mention Stash App. It's important to understand how this technology is going to shape and change the world that we live in. That's where you can see and understand a lot of this, just a sliver of the value. Of course, a lot of it we can't even imagine, because there's people that are thinking of ways or are going to be building on these platforms that we can't even imagine right now. But that's the beauty of it. I can't imagine an industry or a market with more growth potential. And that's why it's important when the markets are in a bear or correcting. These are the times to continue to follow up and see, are those projects that you supported, are they still active? Are they breathing? Are they alive? Are they still building and developing? That's where you find which ones are really worth their salt. And it's exciting, right? Because that's when you can participate and learn, grow, and get ready for the next leg up, whenever that is, so to speak,
Right. Well, I've enjoyed this. I think Michael Saylor would have probably had a better discussion, at least a little bit more pushback if he had come on our channel, right? I don't know if CNBC was the place to for that, but I mean, he got more of an audience, no doubt. But
yeah, that's true. He got more of an audience, but if he wants to talk about it more and kind of flesh out and understand,
he can come on.
We'd love to have him on and talk about how Bitcoin itself maybe not a globally recognized property / money, or which one is it?
Which one? Yeah,
he's busy. He needs to pump his bags. He's cool.
That's true.
We're busy too. Actually, he can watch this video and figure it out. I actually don't have that much time, but yeah, it'd be great. He can subscribe, and you can too. Until the next time, have a beautiful day and namaste, y'all. Right? We're about done.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, we're there.